they went from, you know, nobody knowing them, including, you know, most of Little Rock not knowing them, just a few, you know, 100 or so loyal fans here in this town knowing them, to being on the cover of magazines and featured in Newsweek.
The next week, wow, look at this, it's up to 28 and it's got a bullet. Wow, and you know, I'm tracking this thing, and when it starts getting up into the top 10 slot, we're thinking, this is really happening. So it was very exciting, and then of course, when it hit #1.
Bring Me to Life, it's just one of those songs that sticks with you, and you can hear it over and over again. It doesn't get old.
It was used on television shows. It was used during like the Kentucky Derby. It was used when Stone Cold Steve Austin was coming out to fight The Rock on pay-per-view. They played Bring Me to Life. It's like, God, this song's everywhere. It was happening so rapidly and so fast, and they were selling so many hand over fist that they were up to multi-platinum before anybody knew it. It was like, so Wind Up finally flew us up for a party in Manhattan. And at that party, they had presented them with their gold record. They presented them with $1 million on, well, there's some of these plaques back here, their first platinum record. They presented them with a multi-platinum record for $2 million. They presented them with a and these are all supposed to be separate parties, so we got ripped off, I think.
Wind Up's investment in Amy certainly paid off.
I've seen several performances since the record has come out, and I've been impressed with every one of them. You know, she really connects with the crowd, and that's something that's very hard for a young, you know, at the time when we first started working together, she was, you know, 17, 18 years old. It's very hard for any 17 or 18-year-old to really connect with an audience.
Their sudden rise to fame was certainly helped by having their debut single as the signature tune for the film Daredevil.
After a couple of years of being in development, they informed us that their song has been accepted in the movie Daredevil. Daredevil likes one of their songs. They're going to use it in Daredevil, Bring Me to Life.
I think it was a really smart move for the first single off the record to be on the movie soundtrack for Daredevil. I think it gave the band some immediate visibility and an impetus for a big video.
In the last 10 years, that is a part of marketing of a band these days, is to get a song on a popular movie. Now, Daredevil may not have been a very good movie, but it was big at the box office, which says something for America, doesn't it?
You've got a Ben Affleck-driven vehicle hitting all the theaters. You got the lead-off single that they're going to make a video for. It's a great song. It made a lot of sense that it did well.
When the movie broke in March of 2003, we all went down to the theater, Ben's parents and us, and we were all invited, and it was a big radio station thing, and we were like mini celebrities, and we had great seats, and it was exciting. We had the popcorn, and there was a big cardboard cutout of Daredevil and Ben Affleck, and they gave it to me, and it's up in the attic right now. Big event, and we went to see the movie, and when Amy's voice came on with Bring Me to Life, and then of course My Immortal that Ben wrote was included in the film too. So Evanescence was the only group to have 2 songs in that film. We were very excited. It was a very exciting night. Probably at that point one of the best nights of our lives.
Although the band's national success was evident, there were still grumblings in the Little Rock music scene. This was not helped when Amy allegedly said that Little Rock was full of death heavy metal and Christian bands.
The first single and the success kind of took them to a national level. There was definitely a little bit of a backlash locally among musicians who felt like they hadn't paid their dues necessarily, or that they'd been in the right place at the right time.
I think Little Rock is so proud of Evanescence. I think you get a lot of grumblings from the musical community. Oh, you know, it's just pop. It's just, you know, why didn't they pick me? It's always, why did they pick me, you know? It's jealousy.
There was no doubt that Evanescence had gained mainstream appeal. However, questions were being asked of their Christian roots and whether they even saw themselves as a Christian band.
In the United States, there's you know, a large market for contemporary Christian. There's probably 3 radio stations in this market that stress contemporary Christian music. However, there's also that fringe Christian rock that's a little heavier than contemporary Christian. That's where Evanescence actually started.
At first, I think the band Evanescence pushed themselves off as a Christian rock band. Like country music, it's a little bit easier to get into the Christian music charts than it is to get into the pop charts.
I don't necessarily believe they want to be classified as a Christian band or even a Christian rock band for sales. There is no, by classifying them in that small an area, they're not going to sell very many records.
If you have a specific group, regardless if it's a church group or a baking club or whatever, those members that are in that group are going to support it whether they're 100% behind them or not. They're going to support it because it is what it is.
If you're in a Christian band that puts a big label on you from not only from what an audience expects, but from what's kind of expected from the band as well.
When they first played, they played in church. So they had to disguise their music a little bit by, and I know, I'm not saying that they purposely disguise it, but it did have to have a little bit of a spiritual connotation, or at least you had to be able to take it that way. Just like if you sing Bridge Over Troubled Water, well, that can be about Christ, because he's a bridge. So I mean, as long as you could make some connection, you could sing it in church. So they sang for the youth group.
All the band members had a Christian upbringing, although some were less keen to push their faith.
I think Ben has more leanings maybe toward that way than the secular style. I believe that as a group, Amy was probably more secular oriented and didn't want to be lumped into the, they're a power Christian group or a heavy rock Christian group, and that might have had something to do with some of their disagreement.
The kids in Evanescence, as long as I've known them, they've always had a definite set of religious beliefs, but that's not what their music was about. Sometimes their beliefs came across in their music, but their beliefs weren't the point.
What happened with Wind Up is that they saw that, and there was a little fracas between the members, Ben Moody at the time and Amy Lee, that they not be classified as Christian heavy rock, that they be more secular, simply because I think that just expanded their sales and their market.